Hello everybody, and welcome to the first game of this series. And what better place to start than the first classical encounter between Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano Caruana, which took place back in 2010 at the Vikwansee, now known as the Tata Steel tournament. Carlsen had white and was a great game, Jan. Full of excitement, and really goes to characterise how these players play against each other, and really future battles between them.
Yeah, first thing I'm surprised about, it's 2010 only. It's not that long
No,
ago. It's 4 years ago.
It's unbelievable.
These guys are so young.
Yeah.
When do you think the first classical encounter between Anand and Kramnik was, for example? I don't know, frankly, but it must be like
early 90s.
Early 90s,
maybe even
like
late
91.
80s. Yeah. Yeah.
So 2010 is really not that long ago. It goes to show you. I think Caruana is 22 years old. Carlsen is 24, just turned 24. These guys really have a bunch of years ahead of them.
They really do. And when this game took place, Carlsen Caruana, I should say, was still under 2,700. He was only 26.75. Only, I say. Terrible player. Only 26.75 there or thereabouts. Carlsen was way up there still, and clearly massive favourite with the white pieces. So let's go through the game and have a look really at what happened, and start to get a grip as to what these guys' strengths and weaknesses are. After all, that's the point of this series. We're trying to work out how these players really interact against each other. So we had a Spanish, not a big surprise here, and we had a d3, 5d3. Sometimes we see it with castles, bishop e7 and d3, but 5d3 is certainly playable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not, as you mentioned, this castles, bishop e7, d3 is all the rage now, played a lot by Carlsen, Caruana, and pretty much everybody else. 5d3 is more a way to get out of book, and it's not that popular nowadays because black still has the option of going either what we see in the game, d6 and g6, or going b5 and bishop c5. So normally nowadays they wait for bishop e7 before they go for this.
Right.
That's also quite Carlsen-esque. I don't know, maybe he didn't feel like allowing castles. Knight takes e4, and he wants to take the game out of the main lines ASAP, right?
Well, that's something we should already point out then to our lovely viewers. When Jan says Carlsen-esque, in that sense, what we mean is one of his real clear character traits or characteristics when it comes to chess is that he does like to get the game out of the theory books as soon as possible, really, and just get into a nice playable position, even if it's equal. He doesn't care because he just thinks he can outplay his opponent.
Yeah, I think he does care about the structure, though.
Yes.
He cares a lot about the setup we have on the board now. For example, he likes playing a Spanish with a pawn on d3, a pawn on c3, and a kind of slow build-up. He is trying to avoid the concrete move orders, but we very often see him with pawns on e4 and e5, for example, and then he changes little details to get the game out of book, but not out of his comfort zone structurally.
Interesting. So yeah, I think that's a common misconception with him, isn't it? That people think he just plays any old thing, but actually he's quite clever with the certain openings that he chooses and the certain paths. Is that they are very much, openings that fit his style, at least, or exactly. The structures he prefers. Okay, so d6 was played. We're not going to go too much into the theory because it's not so important here for the purposes of this series. c3, g6, this has all been seen before. Knight bd2, you can play bishop g5, you can castle here, but knight bd2 is very normal. You reroute the knight via f1, and he did it before castling. You can castle, of course, that's been played many times.
That's the main line. This knight f1 idea, it was a bit en vogue at the time. Normally, the point is you want to put the knight on e3 or g3 and not lose a tempo on a later rook e1. So it's possible, but it's a bit of taking some liberties in the opening here.
Yeah, and now knight g3 is just by far the most played move. Carlsen, though, as he often does, played something a bit more offbeat. Bishop g5. This early bishop sortie has got its pros and its cons, but certainly in this position, it seemed that Caruana reacted very well. Of course, you can play h6 here. Elianov's played it, Almashi has played it, and you know, h6. You put the knight on e7, and you get a kind of King's Indian ideas with trying to break with f5 at the right moment. Is an idea. Even trying to break with c6 and d5 in the centre has been seen. But what we see from Caruana now, it's debatable because we don't know.
One small point about this bishop g5, because I found that very interesting. I read, I believe it was an article in New Chess by Anish Giri, himself a top 10 player, and he was speaking about the fact that every top player has a weakness because he cares too much about one certain idea. And he gave some interesting examples. He said, Levon Aronian, he loves the move g3 or g2 to g4, pawn to g4. He said, Viswanathan Anand, he likes knights too much compared to bishops. And he said, Magnus Carlsen likes the move bishop g5 way too much in the Spanish. This could be an example, because it doesn't strike me as such a logical move here. The pin is not really relevant, and you might have to give up the bishop pair there. And yeah, it was interesting that Anish pointed this out, a very specific move. Carlsen, he's obsessed with bishop g5.
I think he's obsessed with queen d3 as well. I think that's another move he's
he does that
very much obsessed with. What's the move, just off topic very quickly, what's your favourite move?
It's knight d7 to b8.
Knight d7 to b8, very specific. Okay, interesting. Okay, bishop g5 was played, and now Caruana played the excellent move d5. Unbelievably, this had never been seen at elite level, and still I looked this game up, and there's only been 2 games ever in this position, which I find extraordinary, really.
I don't. Knight f1 and bishop g5, that's kind of offbeat stuff.
Yeah,
I would repeat that.
But I think, you know, whether Caruana had this prepared or not, I think, again, one major plus that Caruana has over Magnus is that well, there's an argument to say that he, along with Kramnik, along with Anand, along with Aronian perhaps, is one of the best prepared players in the opening in the world.
I think if we're talking 2014 Caruana, no question about it. You could even make a very strong case for best prepared player.
Yeah.
2010 Caruana, I would disagree. This is, 4 years ago. He was up and coming, didn't have that much experience on top level. But yeah, certainly d5 a good move.
Standard break in the centre, and let's just go through the next few moves. Well, Carlsen protected with queen e2, and Caruana got out the pin with queen d6. And now Magnus gave up the bishop takes f6, which was questioned by a few commentators on the game. Of course, you can just continue more normally with knight g3, but he gave up the bishop. Was this necessary? Well, it's debatable, because now after bishop takes f6, knight e3 was his idea, of course, trying to get some sort of clamp on the light squares, but Caruana quite easily defended against it. Knight e7 is a good move, and you could argue 2 bishops, central control, maybe black's already a bit better here.
Yeah, black has won the opening, no question about it. Yeah.
And, well, the game carried on. Bishop b3, well, he supported with c6. That's the sort of move you want to play here. And I think the next move is a real indication of just how bad things were going for Carlsen. And this is another thing we see from him, is that he does try and mix things up in the early stages when the opening hasn't gone well.
Right.
And I think against somebody who is as confident as Fabiano is nowadays, and who is as accomplished as Fabiano is nowadays, if he gets a bit too fruity in the opening, he could get really punished.
Yeah, not just in the opening, but if we're assuming Caruana is superior in the opening, we'll see a very similar example later from St. Louis, I believe. Then it's going to be dangerous to try to mix it up like maybe Carlsen habitually did, because he thought, I'm the stronger player, I don't care that I'm worse, I'll create complications and win. But Caruana, he can calculate, there's no question about that.
Well, we'll come on to that topic in a short moment. Well, here, Carlsen, of course, he can castle, but he's just, there's nothing going on. He tried the move h4, but there's really not much going on the king's side here. You haven't got any attacks, so it was more of a very wild punt more than anything. And after bishop e6, black is now getting developed, and knight g5. If h5, you can just play, you can start playing on the queen side with a5. a4 is really annoying to deal with, and I don't, well, we can put a4 on the board, but there's a little trick, isn't there, Jan?
D takes c4, right?
Well, I was going to leave it to our users, but
sorry.
I can't now. That's all right.
We'll
spoil it. We'll put this one on the board for you guys. But after a4, d takes c4 is a problem. The point being, if you take the bishop off, I don't recapture, but I play the position rook. He takes f3, and I win a whole piece. So a5 is really uncomfortable. So Magnus played knight g5, and Caruana very calmly retreated. Bishop d7, rook d1, rook a d8. And in a struggling position, this is really where we see another strength of Magnus's. Played the move queen f3. Is that, for me, Magnus is extremely resilient and resourceful when he's on the back foot. He seems to find ways to really pose problems even when things are not going his way.
Yeah, as I think Nakamura put it recently, he gets out of the tough spots. Like,
Yeah.
you can't always say how he does it, but he does it so constantly it can't be luck. It's clearly skill.
And queen f3, it looks innocuous. It looks like you're just attacking d5. But the point is that after queen f3, h6, knight c4 is the idea. And that is a real unexpected move, isn't it? Knight c4. It's not a move that immediately kind of screams out.
Do you think Caruana saw that one coming, or did he miss it?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I didn't watch the press conference after the game, so it wouldn't surprise me if he missed it, if I'm honest.
It is the type of move you can very easily miss.
Yeah, you can miss it. And the point is...
Maybe he didn't have to go h6 either, right? If you see it coming, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Well, h6 is logical.
h6 is quite logical. The point is that after knight c4, d takes c4, you take back with the pawn. And now this bishop is unguarded. And, well, you have to play what Caruana did in the game. I'll leave it to you, lovely viewers, to work out what to do after queen c7. Jan knows. But knight d5 was played.
Only move.
Only move. And here Magnus just retreated with knight h3. So the knight is pinned. White is going to win the piece back. And if he can get in this bishop on d5 or some sort of piece on d5, he's probably going to be all right.
He's probably still in trouble after black's next, but at least he managed to mix it up, right? It's not like black has the two bishops, strong center, and it's just better for free. So that's always a close call.
Yeah. h5 is a brilliant move, actually. It's a very strong move, just threatening bishop to g4 when in exchange. And that's another strength of Fabiano, and we're going to see this theme repeated time and time and again in this series, is that he's a fantastic player in a tense situation. He really does he's calm, he's got great nerves, and I think in order to beat Carlsen, you've got to have good nerves, and I really believe Caruana has that.
Yeah, I was reading a recent interview with himself. He said, I don't know, I've never played a World Championship match, but I would imagine I'd stay calm and relaxed even on that stage. And he hasn't given us any evidence to doubt that assessment. He does look like a cool customer.
So h5, great move. Queen g3 just coming out the way. Well, he attacked the rook, bishop g4, and now rook d2. If white could play the move f3, it looks kind of natural. But again, over to you guys at home to spot what black should do in that case. So bishop g4, white played rook d2, and here Caruana again showing another massive strength of his, arguably better than Carlsen, arguably the best in the world actually when I come to think of it. Calculation, pure cold blood calculation. I think Caruana, I really can't think of another player who can calculate as accurately as Fabiano.
I agree, and also it has to be said, he's trained this, I think, more systematically than maybe anybody else in the world. We'll have a chance in later videos to talk a bit more about his training methods and his chess upbringing, but it is not a secret that him and his coach, Vladimir Chuchilov, they've worked extensively with exercises, training calculation, making him, I agree, the best in the world at it.
Absolutely. So bishop takes h4, brilliant move. The point is that after queen takes bishop only move, now queen f6, so you get out of the pin and you end up in a position where essentially with these double pawns and well, knight takes e4 is a threat, so Magnus parried that with knight g5, and now great move
c5, I like that
yeah,
move.
Great
touch
move.
of class.
Yeah, absolutely great move. So the dust is settled, but look at the position. Black has got 4 versus 3 on the king side. Even though pawns are equal, with these double pawns, it's basically a pawn up, isn't it, for black here?
Yeah, maybe not a pawn up, but it's very hard to build a passed pawn with these double pawns. And also the bishop on b3 is pretty ugly, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, black's got the advantage, that's without any doubt. And again, we're going to go through the next few moves a bit more quickly as it's quite a long game. But there was some maneuvering, some pieces came off, and here Magnus, clearly under a lot of pressure, played quite a weird looking move, the move b4. Perhaps he should have played g3 just to keep the pawns at bay on the king side, but it's a very difficult position for me, in my opinion.
As I say, in a bad position there's no good moves, and it's something we talked about earlier. Magnus likes to mix it up when he's worse, and maybe even here he's taking some deliberate risks.
So he played b4, but that just ran into the very nice rook d3, and you can't defend that c3 pawn. So white took triple pawns, looks nice, but they're getting munched up after rook takes c3, rook takes c4, and rook takes c5. Literally, just boom, boom, boom.
Beautiful sequence.
Yeah, nice. Just munching those pawns.
There goes the Irish pawn center.
Well, now we reach a position where, okay, the f7 pawn is being taken, but the dust is settled once more, and it really is a whole pawn now. And once more, Caruana plays excellent, plays the move a5. With the idea of a4 to distract the defense of this knight. And yeah, maybe knight d6 is the best move, but Carlsen, clearly still suffering, played rook c1. The point is now that you can take, and go a4. The bishop has to go to c4. You hit it again with b5. Looks like you're losing piece. Just about gets out of it with knight d6. But after bishop b takes c4, knight takes c8. And now a very accurate move, the move pawn to h4 by Caruana. And it's a really interesting phase in the game now where I think Caruana was short of time, actually, really short of time. But h4 was accurate to give a square for this knight to join the action.
Yeah, should be winning for black, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Pawn up, knight h5, knight f4.
Yeah, it's winning for black. And after knight b6, well, white has to get this knight back into the game somehow. Knight h5, excellent. And knight takes c4. And here, unfortunately for Caruana, he's got a choice of 2 moves. He can either play the move he did in the game, move 40, always a tricky time, especially when you've got a few seconds left. But what he should have done is played the move knight to f4. That was actually the winning move. And the point is that white has to take on e5. If he goes knight e3, well, again, guys at home, have a look at that, try and work that out.
It's one of my favorite tactics in night endings, very typical, very important to know this trick, so check it out.
Have a look at that. But here, after knight e3, I beg your pardon, knight takes e5, knight takes g2, knight g4, knight e1 is very strong. And basically, there's a very long line, but
this is very hard to calculate,
especially
with little time. Here you got equal pawns, and it's not clear at first sight that black's winning it.
No, it's not. But basically, the knight has to come to h2, the king comes in, and after a long line, it's been shown that that black wins. Not easy at all, which means that his move, king f6, it wasn't an easy choice, and it's an understandable move that he played this, king f6. But now we see Carlsen's resilience, king d2, knight f4, and now he played the move king e3. Again, knight e3 is very similar to the exercise we just proposed. So king e3, and the king comes over in time, and now he exchanges the a-pawns. And with the a-pawns exchanged, despite it being 3 versus 2, a lot of the time this ending is holdable. So
good rule of thumb for everybody out there: if you're the weaker side in an ending like this, try to exchange pawns. If you're the stronger side, try to keep pawns. Try to exchange pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see here some more exchanges. Caruana tried, but even 2 versus 1 like this, with the A-pawn still around, well, already around here, it was a draw. So a really interesting game, fighting game, ended in a draw. Caruana missed his chance. Back in 2010, perhaps wasn't as composed as he is now, but clearly even posed some real problems for Carlsen.
Yeah, let's point out this is 2010. Caruana 2670 or whatever he was. Carlsen already number 1 in the world, came fresh off Nanjing, a 3000 performance. And I believe this already shows a bit of the makings of a rivalry. Caruana playing with black outplayed Magnus Carlsen, the world number 1, and missed the win by a hair, really.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed that game, ladies and gentlemen, and please check out the rest of the games in this series. Thank you very much.
Hi, this is Grandmaster Damian Lemos. First of all, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to receive more free chess videos from us, you can just click the subscribe button below. I would also highly recommend signing up for my free mail course, the 10 Grandmaster Secrets to Dominate Chess. During this exclusive course from onlinechesslessons.net, I'll share with you my own Grandmaster shortcuts to effective attacking, defending, and growth hacks to improving your chess without complicated books or memorization. So sign up by clicking the sidebar on the right, and I know you won't be disappointed. Once more, this is Damian for onlinechesslessons.net, and I'll see you in my videos. Thank you.